everybody, it's Grant, and today we are getting into building your first business. But in this case, we're gonna be getting into an actual franchise where you don't have to think of everything from scratch. Today's gonna be a great video. You're gonna learn so very much. Let's get into it. So to start our 8, but technically 9 steps, our first step is step 0. I've done this in previous videos, link in the description below, but find the right location. So we're gonna go ahead and find that right location. I've got plenty of videos that I've been releasing in this series. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Let's get into our first step. But remember, make sure that location is more location than cost effective. You wanna make sure it fits in your budget, but the number one tip here is to put your store, your business, your service, whatever you're doing, where the people are, versus trying to get the people to come to you in a lesser area. So the first thing we actually have to talk about is what is a business versus a franchise. A business is where you have to come up with all the products or the services. You got to come up with the design. You got to come up with the layout. You got to come up with the thoughts, the payroll company you're going to use. You got to think of all that other infrastructure. You got to negotiate everything for yourself, by yourself. Make the logo to put on the building. There's a lot that goes into it. A franchise is something where, as a definable statement, you're going to pay a fee to get this book of business. And in order to get this book of business, it's going to cost you, anywhere from a couple $1,000 to $100,000, or maybe even more. I don't know the most expensive franchises out there, but in the one that I've purchased, they range for about $35,000 to get a Main Squeeze franchise as an example for you. This means that Main Squeeze is going to give me all the tools to my success because they built it out, laid it out, tested it, proved it, and brought it to me in one big package that I'm paying for. A good example in this would be if you're buying a course, right? Instead of having to go learn all this knowledge on your own, you want to buy a course for $200 or $10,000, depending on how intricate and hands-on it is, and then you want to learn from their mistakes, their wins, their losses, and their victories, right? I know that might be a little different, but a win, that might be a daily thing, but a victory might be an annual thing, or many annuals, which is a decade. And then after paying for this fee, you're going to pay a monthly percentage of your sales, which ranges from a few percent all the way to 10%. And in this case, mine is 6%. Just to give you another example for Main Squeeze, it's the only franchise I've ever purchased. And so just giving you an example of how that typically works. So now that we've defined the difference between business, where I have to do it all on my own, or franchise, where I get this plan that someone else has built, let's get into how we're actually going to start building our first business that is a franchise. First stage, we're going to plan it all out. We're going to figure out what roles I'm going to play, what my employees are going to play, if I'm going to have an assistant that's going to help me, or if I'm going to do it all myself, is basically the first stage of this. You haven't hired a general manager, or if you have, that general manager is now the place of an assistant. They are going to help you and start from the ground up. You're going to start paying them a salary. So let's find out what we're going to do, what employees we're going to have. It's going to be me solo until I get everything going, and it just depends on how much capital you start with. If you're starting out and you're already a pretty successful person, you might want to actually go with an assistant and or a general manager or store manager or assistant manager that will help you build this. The next phase of planning is just figuring out how much this is going to cost me. How much the franchise rights, to the build out, to the food or the service, the chemicals, whatever I'm going to be actually selling, and the sign and the this and the that, right? We got to figure out all of this, and then keep the same rule of real estate that if I'm going to remodel a project, the chances of me spending 20% extra are pretty likely. So in this case, it could be that or even more, because this piece of equipment you found was $8,000 that's going to really revolutionize your overall concept. Or you just might want to put a little bit more design or a little bit more pizzazz on the store to make it a little bit more interesting, or something to come back and check out again for your customers. Step 2, I find, is the most crucial thing you could ever do in building a business or franchise. My favorite movie is The Founder, and my favorite scene in The Founder isn't where he takes the company from them and gives them a small fraction of its value in the future. Well, my favorite part of that whole movie was when they went to the tennis courts or the basketball court, whatever it was, and they just mapped out their design to figure out their easy system. By doing that, you can find out where for my case, where the blenders are going to go, where the bowl station's going to be, where the topping station will be, where the bananas are going to get cut, where the storage is going to go. And by doing it right, you can have a good flow to your business or your service. And understand this works for anything. So if I was doing a business that had a service, I need to know where my chemicals are going to go. But you want to make sure you map out your design, your flow, where your front desk is going to go all the way to where the food or the service is performed, and make sure that you have it just as right as you possibly can to make it that much better, that much more effective. Step 3, this one here, it's one that I still don't always agree with, but I know is super necessary. Having some form of a architect, or if you can get away with it with a small type build out, draftsman. Draftsmen are 50 cents a square foot, where architects are expensive. Now, understand the importance of this, where the plugs are gonna go, right? You don't wanna build your store and be hard-headed and not have these plans that you actually need to send to the city anyway, and not ever got it done with a draftsman or an architect or whatever is able to be done in the city and the laws that you actually have to abide by. But you wanna get done being this build out and everything's in place and you're like, oh, I didn't put a plug back here, or I didn't put a plug on this side of the wall, or I didn't put enough power to this area to be able to use this piece of equipment without tripping my breakers. All this stuff might seem like gibberish to you, but it's so crucial. I'll tell you this, when building a franchise, a business, or doing anything, the little things don't mean a lot, they mean absolutely everything. Step 4. This one's just something that you should absolutely do the entire time. You should keep lists, and you should start making sure that you review and check everything going on. If you have something going on in your personal life and you're building a business, the personal life, make sure knows what's going on in the business. And that way you don't go, well, honey, I didn't want to upset you because we were having a problem here doing this. Don't put it on the back shelf and expect your architect to do it. No one will run your stuff like you will run yours. So check everything, list everything. Make sure anytime something changes from a budget to go in there and put in your spreadsheet. Thought, actual, right? Make sure you type it in to make sure that you just have the best outcome of what you're looking to do. So step 4 is just track everything, list everything, review everything, and make sure that you are staying on top of it. And don't let your personal life distract your business, and don't let your business distract your personal life. Step 5, the fun, painful part, get bids. Start getting together with your contractors and shop every single one. Typically, just like I tell you when I build houses, 3 bids. 3 bids per house. Make sure that you have 3 different contractors that have pretty good recommendations. The way you would do this, I've told you in other videos, but I'll tell you again, go on your information stations or whatever it's called on Facebook. Comment on there and say, I'm looking for a contractor. Do you have any recommendations? Whoever's name pops up over and over and over and over again, go to a page that has the most followers that are willing to help, right? And once you find that person, write down the little list and kind of go on their website, check their reviews, right? Do your own research, find a friend that's built something in the past, but something similar to what you're doing. This isn't a house, this is a commercial property. And you gotta also understand that time frames matter here, and you gotta pay rent pretty soon and deal with your landlords and the negotiations and all the things that are gonna come later in this video. But understand, while you're getting these bids, you gotta make sure that your timeline is gonna fit between 60 and 90 days to get this thing built out. And that's about how long Main Squeeze takes and how most things get built out in the commercial world. Step 6 is so crucial. I say this on every step, but visit what you're doing and building all the time. Avoid mistakes, because guess what? If you put it in the plans wrong, the builder's gonna build it wrong. If the architect didn't think about this, guess what? It's not gonna happen. If you didn't put it in there and don't inspect what you expect, it's gonna cost a whole lot more money to fix it when its job's finished versus the job's being started, or that plug needs to be moved before the sheetrock goes in, or before the shiplap or the whatever material you're putting, the fancier stuff goes on the wall. I don't like the way this is. I don't think this is gonna work. Let's move it. So for example, a Main Squeeze that recently got built, they put their juice cooler in front of their counter. So when someone's ordering, you're back to back with a client trying to get your juice, and they're trying to get their smoothie or bowl. So that would have been easily fixed if that person would have been there inspecting this, moved it over just 4 or 5 feet, and there's plenty of room in this empty space where I'm talking about, and it would have made their juice fridge sell a little easier without that, like, I don't want to go there because it's really crowded right there. So understand, inspect what you expect, make sure that you visit that job every single day or at least once a week, and make sure that you are there, you're hands-on, and that you change something that you feel should be changed before it gets really expensive to change it at the very end, or years down the road, you're still like, I really wish I had a plug right here, or I really wish I would have been able to put my equipment here. I can't believe it was going to cost me 5,000 bucks and then it cost me all this regret many, many years later. And step 7, pretty simple. We want to make sure that we're doing all the other steps. Just keep reviewing, keep doing, keep watching that design process, keep watching your costs. Just do everything. Recheck and recheck and recheck. Make sure you're on the phone with your architect, making sure they've sent the plans to the right place. If there's an HOA, make sure you do that. Go around the community, ask anyone any tips that they may have. Do anything and everything that you can possibly think of to make your business successful. This also will include another half to step 7, because that's kind of a review, right? Just review everything. But the other half to step 7 is start grassroots marketing. Make sure that you are telling everybody about what you do. Make sure you are letting everyone know what you're selling or the service you're providing. Make sure you're passing out nice flyers. Making sure that you have great coupons to get them back in the door once they've actually shown up. Give them another coupon for them to return to the store. In Main Squeeze, once again, this is the example I use, I have a little top piece of paper with kind of some information about us. And then at the bottom, there's 4 cut-off coupons. The paper is very small. It's a nice paper that doesn't get wet and destroyed. And I've just learned these things over and over again. And it works out tremendously well. I get them in the store with my grassroots, all my marketing campaigns and all those other things. I'll make a whole video on how to open a franchise. If you'd like to see it, comment below. But this is how you get them in the store and then get them back in the store in just a very vague step 7. Step 8, and our final step to this entire process. Keep the job clean, keep the store inviting, keep the exterior of the building clean. Make sure that it doesn't look like this junkyard somebody's not going to want to visit. Make sure that you get your sign up as soon as you're able. The sign is a huge billboard that will let people know and consumers know that you are coming. So keep a very clean outside. Get that sign up as soon as you physically can. Make sure it is a beautiful sign, that if the city tells you that you can't have the sign that the franchise does, don't cry about it, be about it, and go make a brand new design with your sign person. Throw in your personal opinion, see what you can do. I had to do that for Main Squeeze, Sugar Land, as well as Missouri City, and I'll have to do it again. Now Main Squeeze has adopted that sign for HOAs and POAs, which is just something that happens in big communities. All right, they want to keep those signs looking pretty similar, where you can only have white letters or only so much in size. I did the absolute best I could. People really love my sign and it works out great. But put that sign up and let the customers know that you're opening for business, and that way they got to come check it out. And in that 90-day period when you're building that thing up, that sign should go up in the first 2 to 4 weeks. And guess what? They just can't wait to come try your product or your service. Hope you guys had a great video. I hope this 8-step video was super solid for you. I will see you on the next one. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I believe in you. Bye.